Hey, friends, welcome back to the podcast. This is another Monday Fire episode. I got to tell you, my voice has been gone for a couple of days now, but there is still work to be done on this side of heaven. So I'm not going to let a raspy voice stop me from still producing what I hope is really valuable content for you. I was joking with my team. I feel like I sound like like a 12-year-old boy. But it is what it is. I'm actually on day 8 as I record this of a liver detox. If you've been following me on YouTube or on Instagram, you know that I have had an incredible amount of hair loss in the last 6 months. I've lost half of my hair, and along with some other really random symptoms, which I won't bore you with here on this podcast, but you can go listen to on my YouTube video or my Instagram highlights. Anywho, so because of that, I'm doing a liver detox to try to get all of the toxins out of my body. I'm not sure exactly what was in a lot of the hair products that I'm using, but I'm trying to get them out. I know that. So I've been hoarse for the last several days, which apparently is the result often of a good detox. Did you know? Because I didn't even know. So I feel okay. I just sound horrible. So just if you would, just try to pretend that I sound normal and pray for my voice. All right. So what I wanted to chat with you today is how sometimes distraction can actually be good. And I know you guys have heard me talk multiple times about how distraction is from the enemy. And, if the enemy can't discourage you, that he will definitely try to distract you. And I still believe all of that is true. But I also believe that what the enemy intends for evil, that God will often use for good. And so what I've been getting in my DMs recently is a lot of people saying, "Oh gosh, Jennifer, I'm so sorry about your hair. Like it couldn't come at a worse time for you. Like you're getting ready to have a 3-day event in Kansas City the first week of April and then go straight into a 12-city book tour for Fear is Not the Boss of You book. And, there'll be lots of television that I'm doing. And if I really sit and think about those words, I'm like, oh, I'm like, you're right. It is the worst possible time. And it makes me want to kind of cry a little because if ever you want to look and feel good, it's when you're about to be on national television and go to all these different cities and meet tons of the people who have been following you so faithfully on social media for years. And you're going to be, on a stage in front of hundreds of women at a conference. So it is probably the worst possible time to have half of the hair gone off of my head. And yet I am committed to reframing so many of the things in my life. And this is how I wanted to encourage you today, because if I sit and focus about how poor of timing it is and how awful it is that this is happening right now before I'm, in front of so many people and on so many stages, if I sit and think about that, literally it makes me want to suck my thumb in a corner somewhere. And so instead, I was thinking this week, and this is what I wanted to share with you, of how actually it's interesting because since I am focused on getting myself healthy right now so that I can be at my absolute best for my conference and my book tour. Since I'm focusing on the liver detox and all of the weird things that come up with that, it makes you tired. It doesn't make you feel very good. There's lots of supplements. There's lots of Epsom salt baths. There's things I have to put in a smoothie every day. I'm apparently eating beet leaves at this point in my life. Who knew? And so all of that is really a great distraction. I had that aha moment. Normally right now, I'd be freaking out about the fact that I have hundreds of people coming to Kansas City in April for my conference, for my Equipped Women's Conference. By the way, if you haven't got a ticket yet, why not? They're about to close. You can go to equippedbizconference.com and still join us. But the fact that I've got this to focus on is really distracting me from not focusing on that, but worrying about that. Does that make sense? And I was thinking of a couple other really good examples because I'm sure some of you are getting double whammied right now. That was a word I heard in my spirit as I was preparing this podcast. Some of you are getting double whammied. You've got crap coming at you from all sides, it feels like. And I want you to know that some of that may be a distraction that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's almost a way of God helping to protect your heart and maybe your nerves and maybe your peace of mind just a little bit. If you're focused on this thing over here, you can't really fret about that thing over there, right? That thing over there doesn't seem nearly as huge of a big-headed monster when you're focusing on this thing over here. So I was thinking of a couple other examples for you. I used to be a terrible flyer. I'd white knuckle the whole thing. If we, had a little bit of turbulence, I would, be a gasper and a grabber. So I would, gasp the armrest and suck in my breath. And I would always like look to the flight attendant, because if the flight attendant's face, I knew if her face went sideways, we're going down in flames. Like I knew that, you know what I mean? So I would watch the flight attendant's face to see what her feedback was. And over the years, like now I fly all the time, and it's amazing and I love it. Like where was the change for me? And I know a couple of you may be struggling with a fear of flying. And I'll tell you what the change was. The change was when we started traveling as a family on family vacations, when we finally got some money so we could fly instead of drive. And I was so distracted with the kids that there wasn't time for me to freak out anymore. I mean, who can be gasping and grabbing when you've got, a toddler on your lap and you're feeding her a bottle and you're trying to entertain another one with a tablet, and, you're tying the other one's shoes with your toes. Or, I mean, those of you that have a lot of kids, it's a hot, stinking mess. And so I couldn't focus on my own fear of flying when I needed to be doing all the things. I was distracted by the immediate needs of the children in front of me. Another good example may be like Ari the other day, we had to take her to the eye doctor. She needed an additional eye test to the one that was given at school. And so I was so fascinated and so impressed by her ophthalmologist, who was really distracting her while she was going through tests. Like Ari didn't even have time to focus on the fear of the eye test, because she was focused on the fact that the ophthalmologist was like making it into a game and look over here and playing with the chair and all of these fun things. And so I was just thinking this week, distraction, I think a lot of times it is exactly that. It distracts us from something that we need to be focused on. But I also think that sometimes if we'll reframe it in our head just a little bit, while I'm in the middle of a liver detox and I've lost half of my hair, I'm reframing it. I'm choosing to look at it differently and thinking, you know what? It could be a horrible distraction, but I'm going to actually believe right now that it's actually a good distraction, because I haven't had time to freak out about the conference yet. And if you know me, you know that public speaking is not something I look forward to. Public speaking is something I freak out about all the time. I love me a good panel. Like I want to be on other people's panels. OPP. Give me some OPP, other people's panels. I want it. I love it. I love a good panel. I love a good conversation on stage. I love television. I love podcasts. But for you to put me on stage with a clicker and a slideshow like it's 1983, I hate it so much. So by the way, you're not going to get that at my conference this year, just so you know. We're doing things different to make Jen more happy. And that was really bad English, to make Jen more happy. Anywho. Because I'm focused on my detox and making sure I'm as healthy as possible, and the fact that I've lost half of my hair, and I'm searching all of these ingredients, and I'm getting rid of things in our home, and I'm swapping out deodorant and toothpaste and shampoos, and I'm getting rid of candles, and I'm getting diffusers, and I'm doing all this stuff to really help not only my own health, but the health of my family. Man, is it a pain in the rear? It sure is, but is it a good distraction from the things that normally have me in the fetal position? Abso-stinkin-lutely. So I just wanted to encourage somebody today. I have a feeling that there's somebody somewhere who's getting double whammied, getting things from all sides. And listen, one of those things is helping to distract you, I think, from another thing. And it's actually not a bad thing if you'll reframe it in your brain. I was remembering the Bible scripture that's in Romans, that God works all things together for good for those who are called according to his purpose. All things together for good. So the enemy can still come in and try to wreak havoc, but God can still work it all for your good. And so I hope that that's encouraging to somebody today as they're starting out their week. If it is, give me a shout out on the Instagrams, tag me so that I know that you watched this or listened to this. Leave a review, any of the things, but I just want you to know I'm so honored that you are here and starting off your week with my show. Appreciate you, friend. Till next week, be blessed. Bye-bye.